Hello and welcome to Miniature Pleasures. Although engineering in this country seems to be in terminal decline, there is still a very lively interest in the subject, as is demonstrated by all the many model engineering societies and clubs around the country. In this issue, we're visiting one of the main players in the southeast. We're at the Canvey Railway and Model Engineering Club.
Well, it all started back in about 1976 when an advertisement was put in the local paper, anyone interested in joining a club devoted to railways. And a few people turned up, and the result was an organisation called Canvey Railway Club. And the club grew on from that, and it used to organise coach tours to preserve railways, as there were quite a few about then, even then. And then one or two people with steam locomotives, miniature locomotives, joined the club, and there was a move to try and have a site for our own railway. Great. So we approached several local authorities and none of them wanted to know. And eventually Castle Point Council, which is where we are now, said, yeah, fine, we can find you a site. And this is the site they found for us. It was totally different then. It was absolutely flat as a pancake. All there was grass, no trees, nothing. And we were given this site and they said, oh, there's a football pitch on the middle, you have to fit round the football pitch. And they were very cooperative, and as soon as we got the track arranged to fit round the football pitch, they stopped using the football pitch, so that was the shape of the track determined. And the club went on and did quite well, and we've had several Southern Federation model engineering rallies here, and the club did very well from this track, and it built and built. And around 1985 it changed its name to its current name, which is Canvey Railway and Model Engineering Club. And it still continued to prosper. There were about 20 of us in the early days, and now we're over 100 members. And if you count the wives, 150, and we do count wives, they're important to us.
This engine's very similar to my own loco, Alice. It's a Bagnall derivative, but unlike the majority of engines, this one is fitted with a marine firebox and boiler. Now, a conventional locomotive type has a slab-sided firebox. This is to maximise the use of space on a big express loco and get the most efficiency out of it. But there are applications where that level of efficiency isn't really needed, like a small narrow gauge loco or a small industrial loco. And under those circumstances, you can economise on the build and, as it were, the operation of the thing. This is a good example. Now, as I said, conventional locomotive, slab-sided firebox. This is very different. The firebox in this is round, you can see it here, and it's a tube, a circle within a circle. Now, if we go back to our physics, a circle is the strongest form of anything. So therefore, by having a tube within a tube, it means we don't have stays in the same way that we do with conventional locos. Now, the stays are the rods which go between the outer wrapper and the actual firebox. And of course, on a conventional locomotive type, where it's flat, you've got hundreds of these short stays holding the two pieces together. That's very, very important, because of course, without them, the pressure would force them out, everything would buckle, explode, etc., etc. Because you've got circle within circle, it's self-supporting, so you don't need them. It's therefore much easier and much cheaper to make, and of course less things to go wrong, very importantly. Stays corrode, just like everything else. If you don't have stays, they won't corrode. There's another trick you can do with these marine fireboxes, very useful, and I do it a lot on mine. That's this. And you can't do this on your nice A3 or A4. there is your firebox. Here you can see the grate on which the fire sits, and underneath the ash pan where the ash goes, and this is all removable for cleaning, for emptying the ash pan, general inspection and maintenance. And then of course we have this, which is the baffle, and the fire, when it's sat here, produces hot gases, flames, etc., and those will rise and come over the baffle and down the front of it and then into the tubes in the boiler. So why aren't all locomotives built like this? Well, first of all, a circle is quite a big thing, and if you've got to fit a big express engine through a tunnel, you need to slim down your firebox to match. The other thing is these are built for slightly gentler work. We have the fire in this space, but also, very importantly, we have the grate and the ash pan. The grate actually sits at about this level, so you've got fire space above that, and below that is all the ash space you've got. Now, of course, when you're burning a fire, you create a lot of ash, and that ash will fall down into this gap here. All well and good, but if you allow the ash to build up, it will stop the air from flowing through, thus strangling the fire, but also, very importantly, if the air can't get through to keep the grate cool, the grate, the bars that the fire sits on, will overheat, they will burn through, they'll distort, you'll wreck them. So actually, one of the very important things to do on a marine boiler is to keep this ash pan clear. It's not so critical on a big mainline loco with a conventional firebox, because actually the ash just drops through and there's plenty of room for it. So that supposedly is one of the main drawbacks of marine firebox. Also, allegedly, they don't steam as well as locomotive type. However, I must say my experience with Alice is she steams beautifully. She generates all the steam the loco can use, and I dare say this is much the same.
It's a recycled railway. We've got something like 200 tonnes of road scrapings. That's the base for the railway. There's 1,000 tonnes of scrounged topsoil the council wanted to get rid of, and we took it. The fencing on the station is all reclaimed library shelves that were being thrown out, and it goes on and on and on with the things that we've reclaimed over the years. So we're very proud of that, and the council like us for that. The support we get from the local authority is really good, because we've got a long lease on the land, and although they're like all local authorities strapped for cash, they do help us in terms of anything that's damaged they bring back to us.
Model engineering societies aren't just about steam, they're about other forms of traction as well. From this rather wonderful battery electric version of the Class 52 Western, which is gorgeous, through to a completely different form of traction. And this one, Horace, is a petrol hydrostatic drive. I'll see if we can have a look at her. And here we've got what is frankly a bog standard petrol engine, about 50cc, driving with the belt drive, which is on this side, driving this hydrostatic unit. Now this hydrostatic unit, I find them a lot on lawnmowers, small agricultural machinery, that sort of thing. And it's a very clever hydraulic pump and motor all in one. The benefit is you can start your petrol engine, have it driving this unit at a constant speed, and then simply by operating a very simple control, you can go forwards or backwards. It makes for a very, very easy transmission chain. Other advantage, of course, is that you don't need brakes, because when you back off the speed control, the thing actually slows down and will brake your train for you. So it makes for a very, very simple mechanical arrangement.
And we're thriving, and the membership is still growing. We've got an active junior section. We don't just take junior members in and then just cast them adrift and see what happens. We get a senior member to adopt them, and that's been very successful. We bring a young lad in, usually a lad. We haven't had any girls yet, but we've got a junior section of 8 members. They come into us and we try them out and see how they work out. We train them in all the jobs on the railway. Some want to go to signalling, so 1 or 2 will be up in the signal box here. Others might want to drive. There are certain insurance rules about driving, and we train them in all aspects of the railway. When they're 16, of course, then they're fully qualified, and away they go and they can drive passenger trains. It's good because the kids enjoy themselves. They're taking a position of real responsibility. Today, I mean, it's nice to be able to say to one of the youngsters around, can you do so-and-so and so-and-so? And it's done. And I actually think they're better drivers than some of the senior members.
Dan, how do you get involved in this setup?
Well, I first came down here about 5 years ago, came down with my auntie. Just had a ride on the raised level and went back and said, Mum, I really enjoyed it. Can I come back next week? So she took me down next week. Got chatting to one of the guys who was the guard, and he said, oh, I'll show you around. And at the end of the day, I became a member.
And what do you get to do here?
Well, we do odd jobs here and there. I mean, one of our major projects that we've assigned ourselves is repainting the bridge. We get to drive on occasions, and if there's any jobs that need doing, they just ask whether we would like to do them.
Have you learnt about steam engines and things?
Oh yeah, I mean, when I first joined, I hadn't got a clue about them. I didn't even know steam trains existed still. I mean, obviously when I was a little kid I used to watch like Thomas the Tank, and I thought they were just like fictional. And I came down here and I saw them for real, and I was like, wow. But no, I've learnt a lot. I've learnt how to build them as well, so...
I was going to say, anyone in your position, I know, I've been there, actually wants to build and own one of these things for themselves. How does this setup help you do that?
Well, the members here are very helpful. One member, he's actually lent me a set of blueprints for a ROM, 7 1/4 size.
Romulus?
Yeah, Romulus. And I've got bits for it already, like I've got the bit of the smoke box, and once I get a bit of money together, I'm going to start building it. But people here, if you need any help, all you should do is you ask someone who would know, for example, how to do technical drawings. You go and see that person, they will help you until they can't help no more.
We can't survive without young members coming into this hobby, because the skills and the knowledge is in the older members, and it needs to be passed on. It's not being passed on in industry in the way it used to be, and so we need to bring in these young members. And if this club is to continue to thrive, which it will do, I'm sure, then we need younger members again. And there's so much new legislation that we've got to satisfy, and the boiler regulations and the testing and insurance and this kind of thing. It's difficult for a club to survive into the future, but this club's future is assured because we've got this lovely site we're on. We've got a local authority who want us to expand and keep going. They support us where they can, and it's nice to know that maybe when I'm not going to be about, which I hope is going to be a long few years yet, I'm looking for a few miles around the track yet, that there'll still be kids around who are interested in railways and operating.
We've already had a very brief look at battery electric traction with that rather wonderful Class 52 in 5-inch gauge. Let's have a look at another stunning example in 7 1/4, this battery electric Metropolitan loco. And this, I believe, has been built and is owned by Mike Dickinson. Mike, absolutely gorgeous. Battery electric?
It is indeed, yes.
And what powers it?
This is 2 Bosch motors, and they're rated at about 1 horsepower each. So
can we have a deco of them?
You can, by all means.
Right, so we've got...
I'll take the battery out, you can see there's the...
power bogies, and presumably both bogies are powered on this.
That's right, yes.
And these are motors just off the shelf?
That's
or
right.
Where
yes,
from?
Yes. They're from Parkside, electronics, yes.
Right, absolutely. And then that's just a belt drive down to a gearbox.
Gearbox, yes. It's a 4-to-1 gearbox, and then the main primary drive straight onto the wheels.
And that's a chain
drive, yes.
Right, absolutely. And what sort of speed does that give you?
This will give you about 7-8 miles an hour, which is the sort of standard that we like to run at.
Quite fast enough.
Oh, it is, yes, indeed. Yes.
So you've got 2 powered bogies, 2 batteries. What about control gear?
The control gear is a 4QD, and it's in the green box under there. I don't know whether you can see it. It's a bit of a tip into there, but it's under there. And
that's a proprietary electronic speed control.
It is indeed, yes, and a very good one. Very good indeed.
And you get regenerative braking?
We do, yes, indeed, yes, yes.
In many ways, we're happy and content as we are. We've got 2 lovely railways that we enjoy running. I think we would like to, our next big plan is to build a much larger carriage shed than the one we've got. The carriage shed is a bit on the small side, it's a bit cramped in there. We're getting more and more members who are bringing down wagons and complete trains. You've seen 1 or 2 of them. So we're going to move well into that side and cater for better facilities for storage. A bit longer term, we are looking to expand our clubhouse, which we built ourselves. All these facilities we built ourselves, we paid for them all ourselves. We're going to continue our educational function, and we have a lot of school visits here. And the trouble is our facilities are a bit limited, toilets and that kind of thing. And so we plan to put a new roof on a new storey on the clubhouse and extend it a bit, and put an educational facility up there which has got multifunctional use, so that it can be used by the members obviously, but then we can bring parts of the kids down here and tell them a bit about railways, which is fine.